Hey guys. Okay, I know a lot of you have been waiting with bated breath for today. I'm not gonna lie, I've been pretty excited about today. I've talked to a lot of people about this masterclass. I made a promotional video that aired on NBC about this masterclass. Uh, I don't even know what to say about our guest today. I'm not going to be too wordy, although I know I can get wordy. She's amazing. She has been a part of our organization for many years now. She exudes passion about wellness and weight loss and seeing people become healthy and teaching them. Danny is a registered dietitian with all kinds of other accreditations behind her name. And probably most importantly, when you talk to her, not only can you feel her energy for you, and you can see it all over her face, but when you talk to her, you know that she's the real deal. You know how authentic she is. You know that she genuinely cares about you, that you're the person she's focused on right then. And you know, that's a pretty rare thing in today's age. So I reached out to Danny several weeks ago and I said, hey, what if we put together a masterclass called Restaurant Weight Loss? What if we showed folks how to go out to eat? Because, you know, here's the deal. You've either been out to eat in a restaurant, you're presently still going out to eat in restaurants, or someday you're thinking about going to eat in a restaurant. This applies to everybody. And when you're trying to eat healthy and you want to be well and you want to maybe lose weight, it's important to know what to do before, what to do while you're there, and even what to do after. Because if you follow these 3 steps correctly, weight loss, wellness, and a higher state of health will be the result, and you will have gone to a restaurant that you love. So without any further ado, I give you the beautiful and brilliant Dani Carr. Hi, Dani.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm
I
so
am
excited.
excited for this class. I think same as you, we get these questions all the time. What do I eat at a restaurant, or can I actually do a plan or start a new lifestyle or get healthy and actually still be able to go out to eat? I think we kind of all lock up when we go out to eat. What am I going to do? What am I going to eat? So I'm excited to share. And today we're talking about what to do before you go out to a restaurant. So there are tips to actually think about before we go out, when we're actually there. So looking at the menu. And then I've got some great tips for you when you're actually there, and then what to do after going out. This is like a whole process, but it's really
No, I love it.
But it's really not that complicated. There are just some things that we actually have to think about and plan ahead for. And the more we do that, the more it becomes a habit to where when we go out to eat, it's easy. It's like, oh, we know what to do. And these are the places I want to go. These are the things I know that I'm going to eat. So I'm excited to share that today.
Let's jump right in. I know everybody, people were chatting about this, right? Under the video that I did in the group, they were like, oh, I really need this information. So I know we have people right now on the masterclass with us going, all right, bring it. Let's learn.
Okay, we'll start out. So again, one of the greatest things with 2030 is you can go out to eat, right? But before you go out, we're going to talk about some things about making a plan. So that sounds a little bit more complicated than it is, but I've got 3 tips for you just before we go out to eat. So, and then Donna, jump in anytime you need, but tip number 1 is eat light. So when you are, I guess the biggest thing here is eat a light dinner if you ate a big lunch that day. So let's say you're going out for dinner. Make sure that if you went out for dinner, start thinking ahead of time. Do I need to eat light for dinner because I had this big lunch? But the second part here is the most important. And I think that's just a plan to have lighter meals during the day. I know some of this is going to seem a little bit just easy knowledge. You're like, oh yeah, I've heard that before. But do we actually do it? Right? So thinking about before we go out to eat that day, I think a lot of people, before we go out to eat, we start to think, oh, I'm just going to like starve myself, or I'm barely going to eat because I really want to enjoy this restaurant food tonight. That is like the worst thing we can do, because what do we do when that happens? We get out to eat and then we want to eat like the whole menu. So make sure.
So Dani, let me interject something here. You just said something I think is important to repeat. So guys, really, really hone in on these words. Dani said, this stuff seems kind of, she didn't use the word rudimentary, but this stuff seems kind of basic, and we probably all know it. And I think that is the case. I think it is. But a lot of times, and Danny, you and I are guilty of this, we can be so close to our knowledge that we assume the world knows it. I know I'm guilty of that. And the world may not know it. So what I would encourage you guys to do is see this masterclass as a checklist. So, check number one before you go. If you're planning to go out to dinner, plan to eat light through the day. If you had a big lunch and now you're going out to dinner, well, plan on a light dinner. See, that's a checklist when you're going to be or it's the start of a checklist when you're going to be going out to a restaurant. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, great point. So remember, don't starve yourself. Worst thing we can do. Number 2 is you pick the restaurant if possible. So this is something that is a great habit of mine. I guess I could use that word, is that whenever we're going to go out to a restaurant with somebody, I'll always say, well, how about we go to XYZ? I'll usually have a place already in mind. And I think one of the biggest things here is to think what type of restaurant. So for me, not everybody's the same way, but for me, Mexican's the easiest place because I know that I can get fajitas and not have the tortillas. I know that I can ask for the chips and salsa not to come or control myself. But if you know the restaurant that works for you or the type, and you already have that ahead of time, be that trend center and say, hey, can we go here? I'm really looking forward to this place. So that'll help you as far as the place that that you actually make the healthier choices. And then the last tip on this one is making physical activity a part of the day or a part of your event out. And what I mean by that is set at least 30 minutes aside that day to actually go out and exercise. Because when you exercise, whether it's walking for 10 minutes, it's walking for 30 minutes, it's doing a strength training routine for 20 minutes, we feel great, right? We feel lighter, and we want to make better choices the rest of the day, or we might actually at least think about that a little bit. Because I always think if I'm out at a restaurant, do I want to eat this blooming onion ring at, what is that, Outback? That's 1,000 calories when I just spent 30 minutes working out that only burned 250 calories? No, I don't. I don't want to ruin my workout. And then the other part could be making it a part of dining out, meaning pick a restaurant that's 10 or 15 minutes away. And then you'll actually get maybe 30 minutes or 30 minutes of a workout, meaning you have to walk to that restaurant that's 10 minutes away or 15 minutes away. And then you have to walk back, and you can meet a friend there, and there's some social distraction, and there's time on the way back from going out to that restaurant that'll help your digestion kind of heal and slow down, and you feel more full after the event. But the physical activity is a big part of it. So if you know you're going to an event, you're going out to eat that day, maybe it's even lunch, plan that you're going to exercise that day. That's usually easier than saying you're going to walk to the restaurant. That is it really on that one. So those are some things to do before we go out. So again, there was only 3 tips on there, but I don't think we need to make it complicated. I think it's just really thinking about where are we going, what are we doing, and what do I need to do today to feel my best tonight?
Well, and I think it's just being aware, and isn't that so much of life, right? Just being aware. So if you're going to go out to dinner, being aware of what your day's meals look like. If you're going to go out to dinner, encouraging those that you're going out with to, well, I'm not going to say let you choose the restaurant, suggest the restaurant so that you can go somewhere that you know is healthy. And then number 3, this is amazing, guys. And there could be so much said about the whole physical activity part of this event, because the closer you move to when you eat, not only is obviously your circulation and your metabolism are still moving, but the whole psychology of how this works is in your favor. So if you move as close to possible, take your walk, do your exercise, go to class. If you do that as close as possible to when you go out to eat prior to, the psychology that goes on is I'm healthy. The psychology that goes on is I'm fit. The psychology that goes on is I'm well. and you actually make better choices because you feel good, because you feel healthy. I love this suggestion about walking to the restaurant. That's absolutely amazing. Or if you do wait until after, then make it a group activity. I mean, you still could make it part of the event and make it fun and make it relevant, to the season. At the time of this recording, we're in the season of fall, of autumn. And there are so many things you can do with hiking trails and ending up at a bonfire. So there's all kinds of social interaction. And remember that about going to a restaurant. I know that so often we can tend to make going out to eat part about the food. And going out to eat really needs to be about the other person or the other people there.
Mhm.
And the food, well, that's a garnish and it's nutrition. But if we make it about the social activity, then it literally can go into the whole night and can involve movement. So Danny, these are outstanding 3 keys to what to do before you go.
Wonderful. Okay. So let's go on to the next part. We're going to spend a little bit longer on this, and this is when you are there. So we're going to go into looking at the menu, and then we'll go into some 5 tips about when you are there. So menu tip number 1 is watching for the hidden traps. So restaurants have some yummy, yummy, delicious language, but we do not even see that. There is a reason why restaurants spend thousands or maybe millions of dollars on their advertising, whether to get you there, but then also when you are actually there. So really watch this and be in tune to this when you're looking at the menu. These are some words to look for. So creamy, anything creamy, of course, is going to be loaded with calories. No matter what, I know it's delicious, but there are so many options that you can do that aren't creamy. So if it's a creamy soup, you know that it's going to be made with whole milk or half and half cream. Maybe there's something with buttermilk in there. There's definitely butter. So really, really watch that. The word crispy. So crispy doesn't sound that bad, but that usually just means it's completely fried in oil. So they're just not putting the word fried on there. Think about that. Why would they put the word fried? Crispy sounds a lot better, a lot healthier and lighter. But anything that says crispy, is those fish and vegetables are usually going to be fried. Crusted, so that usually has a lot of butter, cheese, oil, because anything, like the reason why they have to have that, the cheese and the oil, I put on there, that's what helps the breadcrumbs or almonds or flour or whatever base they have on there actually stick. So as many of you know, in 2030, we just use egg whites or eggs because that'll help it stick. But restaurants are not going to do that. So watch that word crusted. Anything that says rich, velvety, gooey, right? Tons of fat on there. But again, guys, I want you to think about this when you're looking at this. Think about, well, it's kind of hard to think about menus that have this on there now, but when you go out, I really want you to be in tune to this because our mind, we don't think about that when we see rich and velvety. Think, oh, that sounds delicious. We don't really realize what that means. Sizzling, if they have sizzling, that sounds great. There's a lot of studies and research done on these words like sizzling that makes us think, oh, that's good, right? That's usually because it's in oil. And we won't get into this now. This can be a little bit more into the masterclass, but there's a lot of oil that we don't want and a lot of oil that restaurants use because it's cheap, it's easy, it's fast. So we can get into that another time. And then oil poaching. If anybody's ever seen that, it's usually really hidden in there, but that just means that the food's submerged in oil and it's cooked slowly over low heat. That's it. It's not really water poaching. And that's really what we would rather. I don't see oil poaching as much, but a lot of times I think I don't see it because it's just kind of hidden in there. So watch that language as it sounds good to us. And we just don't really connect the dots as much and think, oh, crispy's fine. Okay, and then let's go into number 2, sneaky salads. So you do not always have to have a salad. I think if you're like me and when we started to eat healthy, it's, oh, I should just always get a salad. Salad's always healthy. I will say salad's usually something that is a go-to only because I don't like making salads at home. If I make it at home, I'm probably not going to eat it. Probably because it's really boring and I'm too lazy to make a good one. But watch the things that are loaded in it or that are in the salad because a salad can be 1,200 calories easily. So deep fried tortilla chips, well, right there, that can add 200 calories to 300, depends how many are on there. Chinese noodles and croutons, those are usually roasted in oil as well as the next part. But those little things that are just thrown in there, again, that's another 200 to 300 calories. Sunflower seeds, banana chips, those things that sound healthy, and they are, but they're roasted in oil and salt. And a lot of times restaurants will throw extra amounts on there because they want their salad to look really full. Same thing with dressing. I should have dressing on here that goes without saying. So dressing, a lot of times restaurants will just load it up because the little bit of salad that, or dressing that they would normally put on it doesn't make it look too appetizing and full. So they'll actually drizzle a lot more on it, usually at least another 2 tablespoons, which is another, gosh, that could be anywhere from 200 to 400 calories, just so that that salad looks more full. I mean, even things like healthy things like walnuts. There's things where if you measure out walnuts and there's an extra half a cup on there, that's another, it can be, depending on the nuts, maybe 400 calories extra right there. So all of these things that are a little bit here, 200 calories here, 200 calories here, 100 calories here, that can add up to maybe this 1,000, 1,200 calorie salad. So really, really watch that. You can ask for things on the side. I'll usually always have the tortilla strips taken out, the noodles, the croutons. You just don't need it. With dressings, I'll ask for extra tomatoes instead. Maybe extra tomatoes, extra cucumbers. I love celery on a salad. I'll ask for them to put that in there. And then I chop it up really small so those tomatoes will actually make the dressing. I might take this time to actually talk about dressing for a minute on here, Dawn, unless you have something to add, but.
Oh, that's great. I think the only thing that I would say before you talk about dressing, Danny, guys, what happens most often is with going back to tip 1 or tip 2. So the delicious language, right? The creamy, the crispy. What happens most often is you think that's what you have to have in order for something to be delicious. Along the lines of menu tip number 2, tortilla chips, the Chinese noodles, the crunchy bits, you think you need it in order for that to be delicious. But remember that there are a lot of things we teach within the program that aren't really hunger, not real hunger. You may have a habit eating situation going on where your habit is to always have the Chinese noodle or the crouton. You may have a brain craving, right? Where you think that crouton has to be there in order for that to be good. But the most important thing to remember, and oh, this is so important, when you eat in a way that puts insulin to baseline, the way we balance out the hormones, all that chemical junk gets cleaned off the tongue. Now, you don't know that it's there. You've been eating processed things. You've been eating things like the deep fried tortilla chips and the croutons, and it builds up on your tongue. It literally builds a coating on your tongue. And the way that you know this is when you start eating in this really healthy way, food starts bursting with flavor. I mean, blueberries taste like candy, literally. Food is absolutely delicious. So please bear in mind that you might think, well, the tortilla chip is what is making it taste amazing. Oh, no, not at all. No, the legume and the onion and the tomato, that's what's making it taste amazing. It isn't the tortilla chip, it's the real food in there and wonderful spices that's making it taste amazing. So give yourself the chance. Clear that tongue off, clear those chemicals off, by eating really healthy. And then when you go to order these foods, it won't be any big deal to say, I don't need the crispy, I don't need the tortilla chips, I don't need the creamy, because I want to enjoy the flavor of that real food. So that's probably a perfect setup, Danny, to talk about the dressings.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Donna, because what you'll see when you start cleansing that palate is when you start bringing your own dressings or having the dressings made there, meaning that you can make your own at a restaurant, you going back to those dressings that can last a year in our fridge, that we buy at a restaurant, you could taste, I know I can, every chemical now. I haven't had full ranch dressing in my fridge in oh, I don't know, years now. If I ever had it, I just bought from the grocery store. I feel like it would just be so gross to me because of that, your palate changes. And so with dressings, remember there's tons of dressings in that 2030 Fast Track recipe book. There's also things that you can make when you're there. So again, I cut up tomatoes. I asked for extra tomatoes and cut up that salad really small. Or when I have added oil back in, oil and vinegar is great. It may sound boring to you, but try it. And then the more you do it, the more you'll want that. And you could just put lemon on a salad. You could do lemon, oil and vinegar together. Put some extra pepper on it. And then as always, you can always bring your own dressings. I just want to remind you of that. So really watch that, because salads can load up on the calories. They're incredible for you, but do watch those add-ins. Okay, let's go into number 3. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, or should we say worth 1,000 calories?
Awesome. That's outstanding.
So, again, restaurants spend a lot of money to get you to buy what they need to sell. First, they're going to spend a lot of money to get you in, and they're going to spend a lot of money to get you to buy what they need to sell. Whether it's a high-priced item, it's a cheaper item, that's okay. But know that there's illustrations that they're usually in the upper right-hand corner, because that's where our eyes automatically go first. And so they're going to highlight those items, whether they put borders and frames around it, colors to highlight it, whatever they're eager to sell, that's what's going to be there. So kind of check that out. You're going to see things like the steak or the lobster, obviously, if you're going to more formal restaurants. Formal or not formal, you're going to see appetizers that are highlighted exponentially, because I think this gives us a mindset that ordering an appetizer is just a normal thing to do, right? My husband would always order appetizers. That was our thing. He always I think he just kind of grew up knowing that that's a normal thing to do. But once you get away from that, you realize I didn't need those extra 400, 500 calories and also spending an extra $10 or whatever it might be. So we don't need the appetizers. So really watch that and really watch what restaurants are highlighting. Now, not to say what's illustrated is bad. Not at all. It's probably going to be a beautiful salmon. And like I mentioned earlier, a great steak. Just really watch what are they highlighting. Like appetizers, a lot of those items are going to be fried because they're easy, they're quick, they're cheap to make. And again, it's kind of influencing us to grab that extra food or appetizer. So pay attention to those pictures. And when you see them, maybe tell your mind like, no, I can't. I know that looks good. Of course that looks good. They spent that money to make sure that looked extra tasty, but not something that I need to get. Okay, let's go on. We got 2 more tips. Let's go into the right sizing your portions. So we've all heard this, right? This is self-explanatory, or we just hear this over and over and over. Split it with a friend, split it with your partner, right? Ask for half of it to be boxed up right away. Here's the thing, guys. Do we actually do that? Rarely do I ask for half of my meal to be boxed up right away, to be honest, because sometimes I'll forget, or I'll just think, no, I won't eat it. I just know I won't eat it. But then as we're sitting there and socializing, we start to continue to pick at things. So when you're looking at that item, really ask a friend or the partner to split it with you. One, you save money, but also restaurants usually will give you either double to 4 times the amount of portion size needed. When it comes to pasta, I know nobody's eating pasta at a restaurant, right? But when it comes to pasta, pasta is a fist size or the portion size is a fist size. Well, pasta is usually, they give 9 servings of that at a restaurant. So if you think about that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we could eat that, right? So,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you could ask for the restaurant to do half the pasta if you ended up having that, but really watch that. But I do really believe in the asking for it to be boxed up, half of it right away, if you feel like you're not going to control yourself, because then it's there, you've got it for the next day and you're good to go. The other part on portions is looking at the ounces of meat. So if it's a 12-ounce meat, a 12-ounce steak, it's an 8-ounce steak. What is your portion size? So we say 4 to 6 ounces of meat, but hardly do restaurants actually give that when it comes to a steak. Fish and chicken are usually okay on that, but really, really watch that. Okay, and the next tip is talking to your server. So first, I have to tell you, don't go in with an attitude. Be kind. These servers, one, they're very used to us asking for certain things. I think nowadays more than ever. Before it used to be, they're just not used to that. Maybe they're used to these fad diets, but I think now more than ever, people are more in tune. They're either on a diet or they're starting to be more in tune with their health, or they have found out things like, they're intolerant to gluten or they're intolerant to dairy. So just know that they are very, very, very used to this. But I think it's very important to just be kind to them. Don't go in with an attitude. Let them know things like, I'll usually go in and I apologize first. So I'm really sorry. I know I usually will just say, I'm sorry, I'm a dietitian, so I'm going to be annoying for just a minute. But you let them know you have allergies or you have intolerances to certain things, because waiters will be way more in tune to that. There are lawsuits at the wazoo nowadays. Restaurants are very scared of that. So if you ask for something, the waiter's going to make sure that happens. And usually they're going to point out options for you, or they're going to tell you if something's not maybe gluten-free or dairy-free if you tell them you have an intolerance or you have an allergy to it. Don't be afraid to talk to them and ask them. Ask for sauces or other dressings on the side. That's usually a great thing to do too. So, one of the things I usually say is I don't want to insult the chef, but if you can make this salmon or this fish not loaded in oil and the butter, I know he probably loves that, but if we can go really light on that, because otherwise my stomach gets really upset, but which is true. If, as Donna said, your palate changes, your stomach changes as well. We start to have an intolerance to that type of stuff. So when you can say that to them, they're very respectful of that. So make sure you do that. I don't see any fault in that. I think, again, they're so used to that. And tip number 5 is adding to your meal. So focus on what healthy items you can eat versus the foods you can't. I'm sure many of you have heard your coaches say this over and over and over. Sometimes we just worry so much of it. We get to the restaurant, we worry about all the foods we can't have. But there's so many things that we can have: the healthy fats, the olive oil, the avocados, nuts. Before I go on to this next one, just an idea for you that I like to think of is be a trendsetter. Usually if you're the first one to order and you order something healthy, most likely, depends who you're hanging out with, I understand that, but those people are going to take suit also. So be that trendsetter, order first, order the things that you can have versus the things feeling like the things that you can't. But going into that next tip on that second bullet is order fruits and veggies. So I will always ask for the waiter to substitute any carb heavy items. Like if there's pasta, let's say you're at an Italian restaurant and is Italian hard to maybe eat healthy, or it seems like it is. But if there's chicken and pasta, well, I'll just ask, instead of the pasta, can you do vegetables? Instead of the tortillas, can you bring extra vegetables? And they'll usually do that just fine. And of course, going for lean meat, turkey, chicken, fish. So if that pork looks really good, or the pork belly, if you can think, okay, well, what other lean meat can I have that I really like in this type of soup or on this dish? Can we change that to turkey instead? But that will save you quite a bit of calories. And again, putting that positivity in the mindset. And once you start to remind yourself over and over and over, I can have this versus what I can't have, and you're focusing on that positive, you go to that restaurant, you'll continue to see all the positive foods that are there at that restaurant.
Even back to the pictures, Danny, I want to make sure everybody understands this, because you were spot on, right? The pictures it's advertising, it's marketing, it's there to entice you to want the item. That's what it's for. But guys, listen, there's also a description. So whatever the picture is, I don't know, drizzly chicken, cucumber, apple harvest salad, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There will be a picture of it, and then there will be the name of it. Well, when you go look for that menu item on the menu, there is a description. There's literally a description of what is in that item. So you can be thinking about what's in that item and know what to have them leave out or put on the side. But the most important thing I want you to pick up from what Danny has just said here, the way I would say all of this, tip number 5, is fill up your plate. Too often when we're trying to lose weight or trying to live well or trying to put ourselves into a higher state of health, too often we think that means a plain chicken breast on the plate, and way over there in a tiny little corner is this itty bitty iceberg lettuce salad that we now know apparently is the kind Danny makes at her house. That's not at all what it should be. Fill up your plate. So if you're substituting the pasta for veggies, you're going to have a mound of veggies on your plate. I mean, my husband and I eat very, very regularly a wonderful piece of protein with a half a plate of salad of mixed greens, and it's beautiful. We always put more color in there, so it might be yellow and red peppers, or it might be tomatoes, something that really adds some vivid color. And remember, fill up your plate with color, because the more color you have on your plate, the healthier it typically is for you, and the more delicious it tastes to the palate. So again, fill up your plate, but fill up your plate with color. So pasta, it's colorless, it's boring, it's a pale yellow, right? Bread is not a color. Bread is a white at best, but more like a taupe. Right? So if you think of vivid colors, the things that your body really doesn't want, the things that will put on anything from the wheat belly to all out reactions and symptoms that can then result in high blood pressure or a pre-diabetic or diabetic condition, vision problems. And I mean, really looking at that menu and knowing what to do when you're at that restaurant and how to talk to that server. And remember, fill up my plate with color. That in and of itself is going to produce weight loss. I mean, really, that tip alone. So if you really look at number 5 here that Danny's put together for us, I want you to really pay attention, because this one is key. Look at the pictures, but then look at the description that goes with the name that's on that picture and decide. Because there's really not a lot of things that you quote unquote can't have on a menu. And I know we're going to get into, as we dive deeper into this training, we're going to get into specific menus around the country, around North America, around the world, that people love to, the restaurants they love to go to, and the menus of those restaurants. You can virtually pick just about anything if you know what you're doing. But these are amazing general guidelines. I mean, we could all go out to eat tonight and eat healthier and shed pounds and inches because of what Danny's teaching us.
Yeah, thanks. That's great addition. Okay, so let's go into when you are there, or we'll stay on when you are there, but tips to remember when you're there. Eat slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to get that message that you are no longer hungry. Maybe many of you have heard this before. If you haven't, it's a great news flash. If you have you actually paid attention to this and done that when you're actually at the restaurant with people? Because usually we don't. We're socializing. Going out to eat, we're usually there for a social occasion. And like Donna had mentioned in the very beginning, that's what we want to focus on. We get so focused into the food, but if we can focus on the people that we're with and enjoying that conversation and really waiting for us to actually, or waiting until we want something else, waiting about 20 minutes to get the message that we're actually full, that helps so much, rather than going straight to either wanting more food or maybe wanting a dessert. So know that fast eaters are often the overeaters. If we eat slow, we're tending to be a little bit more satisfied. And there's plenty of things that you can do with this. We can always describe or explain this another time. Just due to time-wise, a couple tips might be putting your fork down in between your bites, or drinking a glass of water, maybe between every 5 or 10 bites, or every bite. Not that you have to count those bites, but just knowing, okay, I'm going to keep picking up my water throughout this. so your stomach has time to digest that. Couple other tips, just 2 more tips when you are there. Skip the free beginnings. So if the restaurant automatically brings out bread or chips and salsa, I made sure to have the word here simply. Just simply ask the waiter to not bring it ahead of time. And if they do bring it, ask them to take it away. I don't know, it depends on who you're there with. Oh, I got a typo there. It depends on who you're there with. But I also think, who cares who you're there with, right? If they bring the chips and salsa and those people want the chips and salsa, ask them, hey, can you guys leave that down there? Because I can't control myself. And then I'm always too full for my meal, right? So you can make it a fun thing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm on a diet, or I'm eating so healthy and I
That's
don't
good
want to do
word.
this,
Good
right? Just
word.
put, hey, and isn't that the truth? If I eat chips and salsa, I could go through some baskets of chips and salsa, and then you get the meal and you're bummed because you didn't want that delicious meal that you had ordered, but you're still probably going to eat it. So really watch that. Again, if you ask them not to bring it, it might stink for the first 5 minutes, and then you just kind of forget about it and start to get involved in that conversation of the person that you're with. All right, you won't miss out on it. I promise. You'll be glad the next day. Tip number 3, pick your poison. I learned this trick, I don't know, years ago from an actress. I don't know who it was. I wish I did, but I'll never forget it. And she was interviewing with somebody, and I've always taken it to heart, and it's always helped me. If you're going to have a cocktail out or cocktails out, probably going to skip the dessert. So just kind of pick, if I'm going to drink, I'm not going to have dessert. If I just know it's going to be at this birthday party, and obviously not in your 30 days, but after that, and there's a time you've added in some sweets and you're going to have a little slice, well, skip the cocktail. That's going to be a huge part that's going to help you, because a lot of times that people will maybe we start to have drinks out, and then that's the time we usually get a little bit more lax, and we're like, all right, well, I'm gonna eat a little bit more. Now I'm going to have a dessert, and I'm going to have way more dessert than I probably should. And then we're just frustrated at ourselves the next day. So pick your poison. If you're a person that loves those cocktails and that's going to be it, then you just kind of know, don't need the dessert. Quick little thing on dessert, going back to the illustrations or the delicious language we were talking about in the beginning. I love this study. It's from the book Intuitive Eating. And Brian Wilkins had found that there were 27% more likely to get the dessert when it was called German Black Forest double chocolate cake instead of chocolate cake. So I just thought I would kind of put that in there. We start to maybe think we're not going to have dessert, and then we see that and we're like, whoa, that's different. I should definitely have that, because when am I going to have that again? It's probably just chocolate cake. Let's be honest. So again, in another class, we'll talk about this. What are good desserts? Is a pear tart an actual good dessert? There's lots of things that we can go into.
And Danny, that's so key. You guys, you probably didn't know this. Now, we may not have time to get to it today, but we will in the next class. That's key, what Danny just said. You can order dessert when you go out to eat in a restaurant. Let me say that again. You can order dessert. You just need to know what desserts to pick and how to pick them from the various restaurant menus that are out there. So like I said, we'll be able to go into that later, but boy, is that exciting news, right?
Yes, that's right. Good point. Okay, just really quick, again, as Donna said, we'll have something to talk about this later, but just some quick dining in options. We will have a class on all options all over the world if we need to, but at least over the nations, of things that you can pick. But these are some things that you'll get in that next part, where we'll talk about just what restaurants do you go to, and what do you want, what do you want to know to eat? So like I threw Denny's on here, honestly, because it was the best picture I had. But whether it's Denny's or it's IHOP or it's your local breakfast restaurant, cafe, whatever it might be, what's a good choice there? We'll go for the loaded veggie and omelets with a fruit. And then if English muffin is something, if you actually need a carbohydrate, I threw that on there to let you feel like you're not really deprived. I usually would skip that carbohydrate because you've got the fruit on the side, and that's a better carbohydrate for you.
One thing you guys may not know now, with a name like Fit Fair, they've got it covered, obviously, on the actual choices already. But one thing you guys may not be aware of is that virtually any breakfast restaurant will give you fruit instead of potatoes if you just ask. And many times the server will offer. So if you say that you don't want the potato, they'll say, oh, well, would you like fruit or something like that? And if they don't offer, you can ask, because again, that's how John and I eat much of the time. We skip the potatoes and we do the fruit. And if we don't want the bread, which we don't, we just usually say keep the bread, you can double up on the fruit. So again, remember, fill your plate with color.
Love that. Great point. Chili's, usually a restaurant that a lot of people will go to. You can have the Margarita grilled chicken, steamed broccoli. Doesn't that look great? This is their menu, so I took their picture, but go ahead. I wanted to use this because it's an idea of, okay, if I see that picture, wow, that looks delicious. All of that is great for you. Just ask them, can I do extra broccoli, or can you skip the rice and do extra broccoli? Or can you throw on, I don't know, some peppers on the side with that broccoli instead of the rice? So you might see this and think, oh, I can't have that, or I don't want that because the carbohydrates. Just ask for it not to be there. Because if it's on your plate, you're probably going to eat that. And another would be the burrito bowl, the Chipotle, or a burrito bowl at Chipotle. Who doesn't love Chipotle? You got chicken, beans, fajita vegetables, lettuce, tomato. I will always ask for more tomato and more of the tomato salsa on it. Even just a little bit of guacamole. That makes a dressing right there with the tomatoes and the guacamole. So we don't need the rice and all that on top of it. Wendy's, if you're driving your fast food restaurant, you're like, oh, I need something. We're on the road. I can't have anything. How great does that look? Apple pecan chicken salad, half size. You put your own dressing on it or bring your own dressing. But that's going to fill you up. You've got your vegetables, your fruit, you have your carbohydrates, your fat, you have the pecans, and your protein, you have chicken. So sometimes we think that's not going to fill us up, but when we have those macronutrients right there, you're set to go. So those are some, again, we'll get into this way more. There's so many other things that you can get at different restaurants that I know we go to, things like Panda Express, or what would you get at Taco Bell? The kids have to have Taco Bell, and you know that you have to eat because that's your only option. What do you get there? Chick-fil-A, Starbucks. So we'll be talking about those as well.
Yeah, and we talked about Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, right? Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, and of course things like Macaroni Grill, Olive Garden. I think it's important to realize, guys, that when you are choosing from any particular menu, including your local favorite, maybe it's not a chain, maybe it's a local favorite. I think it's important to know when you're choosing from a menu, you can always go to that, like, well, on Denny's menu, Danny found the Fit Fair, right? So you can always go to their healthy options first. Always. That's kind of a go-to. You really need to know how to order those so they're absolutely luscious and wonderfully delicious. So it's go to the healthy option first. Do you want it? Because I have to tell you, listen, there's a lot that goes on here in our mind with regard to food. So you have to want it. It has to sound really good. So if you go look at that healthy option and it doesn't sound really good, you need to know how to order that. Now, as Danny has mentioned, when we go into this live experience, that is ever so cleverly called Weight Loss is on the menu. We're going to be looking at all these different menus. So we will show you how to first look at the healthy options and know exactly how to order them so they are so delicious. But if the healthy option doesn't sound that good, we're going to show you how to go to virtually anything on any menu of any restaurant that you love and know how to order it in a way that will produce weight loss, that will produce wellness. So these examples that Danny's giving you right now, those are important to pay attention to, but you do need to know, I want you to really know, Danny wants you to really know that it's got to sound good. You've got to look forward to it. It's not just like you're putting something nutritional in your body, which is really important to do, but it's got to taste good. You've got to enjoy the experience. So go to the healthy option first and look through that. We will be here to help you with, how to make it taste even better. But if those healthy options, that part of the menu doesn't sound so perfect, then we're going to show you exactly how to go to any other anything on that menu and know how to order it and have it be delicious. And again, fill your plate and have you walk out lighter, literally lighter.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's get into after dining out. So what do we do after this? Now we've enjoyed our meal. We got 3 tips for you here. One, after you're having that meal, everybody's getting dessert. You want dessert. You're just like, oh my gosh, I can't. I have to have this. Everybody else is doing it. I'm going to feel weird. Opt for a coffee instead. So I usually do coffee. And if you've added cream back in, a little bit of cream, maybe a little bit of stevia, maybe you bring the stevia with you in your purse or in your pocket. And that's a delicious treat. You will be surprised when you have that, how tasty that is. And remember that dessert part, it's great because it tastes good, but really it's usually part of that socializing part of our meal when we're out to eat. So you still got this motion going on. You're still getting to use this motion from the fork or the cup to your mouth. But it should satisfy you and also help settle your stomach. So great option there. Tip number 2 is go for a walk. So whether that's you took the option of, okay, I parked farther away, I didn't valet, or I made sure to park farther so I can get out and walk. I have to walk back to my car, or you get home at night and it's time to take the dog for a walk, or yourself, throw on a podcast and just kind of let that stomach settle. And I think you'll feel a lot better as well. And then tip number 3 is this is talking about the next day. So I know you might be thinking, gosh, now we're going into the next day, but it's just a tip to think, reflect on what you ate yesterday, reflect on how you did, because that's how we get better. That's how this becomes more of a discipline and a habit. So a lot of times I'll see our clients say, well, the scale went up. I ate on plan, or I ate really well and I went up 2 pounds. Honestly, if you did great, you were on plan, or you ate really well, it could have just been the sodium, because restaurants have their steak or their chicken, a lot of their restaurants already pre-made. So they're sitting there and then they're going to recook them and they might re-season them. So as much as you've asked for them to cut out the seasonings or the oil and the butter, that's great, because they probably might do a little bit more later. So, but it's still going to be, might be a good amount. So don't get down on yourself. Try not to self-sabotage yourself. I know that's a big, big thing that we can do. And then we're just like, oh, forget it. I did good. And and I did all that and now I'm up, or I didn't lose weight, or whatever it might be. So just know that could be it, and you'll lose it in a couple of days or maybe the next day. Make healthier choices the next day. So I'm not going to talk like we are all perfect. If you did happen to get off track, or you just feel like, you wish you didn't eat that dessert, or you wish you didn't order that meal that you always used to have as maybe it was comfort food. Well, get right back on track. Don't again, don't get down on yourself. It's just to say, I did what I did, and I'm going to make healthier choices today, because you're going to feel better maybe the next day. It might not be immediate, but the next day you'll feel that, and you've kind of made up for that. Don't not eat, just make those healthier choices. And the third part of this would be reflecting on how well you did, or what you thought you could have done different, or maybe been more prepared for. Maybe it's just that simple tip of how I mentioned, pick the restaurant. Well, maybe it's this group of friends that you always go out with on the weekend, and you think, dang it, I should have just spoken up. Next time I'm going to speak up next time, and I want to pick this restaurant. Or thinking back on, I could have been that trendsetter. I could have been the one that ordered healthy first. This person would have loved that and maybe eaten healthy as well. Or what could you have done different? And then make up for it the next time. Because remember, a failure is not a failure if it's a success later, and we learn from it and we correct it. And so just getting into the habit of that will help quite a bit. We have a masterclass coming, but Donna, you want to go on to anything more of what I just mentioned, or go on to this next part?
I think that the only thing I'd add here, Danny, you did an amazing job talking about this, is thinking about feeling good, not thinking about what you messed up, but thinking about feeling good. And the thing about listen to your body, like, I mean, we all talk about this, right? The science of it that's so fascinating is that your body will talk to you. Your body will talk to you. So you really don't have to say, oh, you loser, I can't believe I screwed that up. Because if you put something in your body that it doesn't want there, or it's going to create a symptom, it's going to create a symptom. And sometimes the symptom is the scale staying the same and the scale going up, but there's just no need for the negative self-talk. As a matter of fact, focus on feeling good. Focus on the fact that you ate well. Focus on the fact that that health is something that you can carry with you into the rest of your life. Focus on the fact that that behavior is something that you want the people who you love to model after you. So focus on feeling really good. I mean, feeling great and living well. It is about losing weight, but it isn't. The thing is, if you're focused on feeling great and living well and learning how to become all you were created to be, then that focus and that plan and that mindset will reassure you that you made good choices. And again, if the scale did something different, it could be your body talking to you. Now, like Danny said, it could be your body saying, wow, that was a lot of salt. Because that's very typical in a restaurant, very typical of a great chef, actually, is they just salt like crazy. But learn to listen to your body. That's what listen to your body is all about. But learn to pay attention to the conversation going on in your mind. Now, we know that this is great information. It's great information. And, you know, I'm sure that you guys, if you had the opportunity to take Dani Carr with you and have her sit right there next to you, you would love to have her sit right there next to you and guide you through the menu. We have something just about as good. We have put together a live experience. The live experience is at weightlossisonthemenu.com. The live experience is going to involve Dani being right there with you as we take you through, literally take you through specific menus. We'll start first with the healthy options and make sure that those can be as delicious as possible. But like I said, if that healthy option just doesn't sound good to you, we're going to go look at the other items on the menu that we know you love, right down to the desserts, right down to the cocktails. We're going to go look at those two things as well so that you can make sure no matter what you want on that menu, there's a way that you can order it and there's a way that you can eat it, because it's not about deprivation. It should not be about deprivation, right? It should be about the addition of learning things. Now, not only are we going to cover menus like, this is not an exhaustive list, Chili's, Red Robin, Olive Garden, Macaroni Grill, McDonald's, Cracker Barrel, Starbucks, Taco Bell, Dunkin' Donuts, Panda Express, Chick-fil-A, Texas Roadhouse, Fridays. That's a lot. Not only are we going to cover those very popular restaurants, but if you would like to submit a local restaurant, or maybe one that I didn't mention that's your favorite chain, then you can go to 2030fasttrack.com and click on the help link and say, hey, I want Dani to talk about this menu. Now, again, we'll start with the healthy options and we'll make sure that those can be as delicious as humanly possible, but we're not going to stay there. We're going to go to virtually all the things on the menu that we know people absolutely love, including the desserts and the cocktails, so that you can go to any restaurant that you adore and you can enjoy the foods. So it's going to be pretty close to Dani sitting right there beside you. Now, if you want your menu submitted, like I said, go to 2030fasttrack.com, click on help, and just give the name of the menu. And weight loss is on the menu is probably something that you're going to want to put in that subject line. Now, the investment for weight loss is on the menu. The class is so unbelievably affordable compared to what you're going to walk away with. The investment for this is only $29. It is a live class with Dani and I looking at specific menus. There might be a surprise guest, like some, I don't know, chef possibly. Uh, Not only will you get this live experience going over these menus, so you know exactly what to order and how to order it, but you're going to have your menu covered as well. You are going to have a replay of that particular video, so you can go back to it again and again and again, and you can refer back to, oh yeah, that's what I need to do when I'm going to go out to eat. You will also get this class, restaurant weight loss. You'll get a copy of that goes with Weight Losses on the Menu as well. And you'll get the full transcription. So if you will, you'll have your own book of what to do and what to refer back to. And of course, we'll extract the audio from this so that you can just play an MP3 version of the audio if you want to. So, you know, Danny and her encouragement for what to do with the menus can be right there with you when you're taking that walk and headed to that restaurant. So weightlossisonthemenu.com is where you're going to be able to participate in this live experience. And while this is playing live, we can tell you that that live experience is going to take place on October 27th at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so that it fits into virtually anyone's schedule. And of course, you're going to get the replay link as well, so that you can watch it again and again, or if you can't get there at that time. So again, the investment is $29. The bonus is that you get this class as well, and the transcription that goes with this. You get Danny's slides that she's put together that are so wonderful. And like I said, there's probably going to be a surprise guest that's a chef who's going to tell you a couple of things about maybe some secret things you didn't know that you could tell your server that takes calorie count down and taste up. So it's at weightlossisonthemenu.com. And again, we look forward to seeing you in there. We know this is something, again, at the time this is being recorded, this is in the fall or the autumn. And so we know that heading into the holidays with, Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, that these are big go out to eat times, right? We want you guys to feel healthy and feel so good. So you're going to want to tune in to weightlossisonthemenu.com and invest that $29 in yourself. And boy, you get a lot for that, right? So Danny, anything else you want to add as we're ready to close?
No, I think that was great. Thank you. And just know, guys, it doesn't have to be so complicated. It's just sometimes we don't have the knowledge or the tips right at our fingertips for us to figure out what to do. So I think this training will be great in this next class. And please submit what you are wanting or where you eat, even if it's something local and it's not something like a Chili's, a Panda Express, it's an Olive Garden. I'll look it up and we will figure it out. So that way, you know, when you go to those business meetings or you go to the cafe or you go to these dinner restaurants, or maybe you're someone that's always taking out people and in the evening or happy hours, whatever it might be, that you've already got these tips right there for you. So it's something that can be a habit for you. So please submit them. I would take 5 minutes now and think right now, just think, what are some places, what are 3 places I really need to know? So that way you can go straight to 2030fasttrack.com and submit them, because we've got a week to prepare for this and it's going to be fantastic, but we need those now so we can make sure that we really research it and give you the best tips. So don't forget, like, take 5 minutes after this call, write it down and go straight on that site. So you don't forget, because we know how fast a week goes and I want you to get the most out of it.
Outstanding advice. So guys, listen, if you've ever gone out to a restaurant and thought, gosh, I can't have that. I can't have that. Wish I could have that. I guess I have to have this. You're going to want to go ahead and meet us in this live experience at weightlossisonthemenu.com, because we're going to go over, well, the truth is, yes, you can have it. You just have to know how to do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do this together. What you guys may not know is at the time of this recording, you can only see her from the shoulders up. Danny is actually expecting a baby. So I'm believing Danny is going to be with us for this live experience. I know she will. The baby's not due for a while. So everybody get excited, and the chat will be completely open during our live experience. So you guys can ask Danny questions, and you can even congratulate her on this baby Carr that's about to enter the world. So Danny, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been awesome. I knew it would be outstanding. You are such a treasure. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time too.
All right. Bye guys. Thanks so
Bye.
much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.